Hey, everybody. This is criminal defense attorney Melissa Lefkowitz, and you're listening to Call for Justice. Now, for over a month, thousands of people have taken to the streets to protest, calling for justice around the death of a 22-year-old named Mahsa Amini, who was arrested by the morality police in Tehran for not wearing her headdress properly. Ever since, demonstrations have erupted in at least 40 cities nationwide, with protesters demanding an end to violence and discrimination against women. Here with me tonight to discuss the Women Life Freedom movement spawned by Mahsa Amini's senseless death are the spectacular Sharen Ghatan, who is the founding attorney of California Legal Counsel, the phenomenal Dr. Payam Cade, founder of the MindQuest Counseling Center, Evelyn Lahiji of Children's Dental Fun Zone, and the lauded and loved Lisa Daftari, who is the founder and editor-in-chief at the Foreign Desk. Thank you all for coming into studio today to call for justice around this issue.
Thank you for having us here.
Thank you for having us.
It is amazing to have each of you here. Now, my first question is, what are the morality police, and how and why do they define morality?
Well, I can take it from the top.
Please
I think
do.
Morality police is really an ironic and rather, ridiculous term.
Ridiculous.
Absolute nonsense. So let's get back to what happened to this poor young woman, Mahsa Amini. She wasn't even from Iran. She was on a holiday in Iran, poor thing. And she had a few hairs. And when I say a few hairs, that's pretty much like half a bang showing, literally half a bang showing.
Wow.
And this was offensive. And this is something that could have potentially turned other men on that are not her husband. The poor girl's 22. Correct. Okay, half a bang. We have Lizzo with her butt cheeks out. Everything's fine.
Absolutely.
But we have Mahsa Amini with a couple hair bangs out, and it's the end of the world, and she must die.
Unbelievable story.
That's all it is. That's what it is. Morality police. Dr. Cade might be able to speak further as to this, but I find the term just ridiculous. Please educate us more about what your understanding is.
It's actually the immoral police, because what they do has nothing to do with morality. Morality is supposed to be linked with voice and choice, right? And this police system that they have in Iran has nothing to do with that. It has to do with keeping control on people and basically doing exactly what they want. Discrimination against women, it has been around for decades in Iran. I just want to say very briefly, this was in 630 AD, when Islam actually came to Iran, after 20 long years of fights, they basically took over the country, and Zoroastrian religion was turned into Islamic religion. And I think that's when the discrimination started. This is nothing new. It's just that now we are hearing it all over the world.
All over. Everybody is taking to the streets. This is hitting home for everyone. Evelyn, what do you have to say about it?
It's just such a shame to have to be restricted and not have a choice if you want to wear and cover your hair or not. This should be a person's choice. You have an idea. If you want to follow the rules, you should have a choice. But unfortunately, it's what they do. They force it upon you to a point where even if you wanted to do it, now you don't. And if you don't wear it, then you end up dead just like she did.
Right. Or arrested. So many people are getting arrested for speaking out right now, if not injured. Lisa, what do you have to say?
Well, thank you for having me. What a wonderful panel of guests, and I appreciate you covering this. I think it's long overdue for the Western world to pay attention to the crimes of the Islamic Republic. And the Iranian people for 43 years, a majority of 43 years, have tried to get the attention of the international community to say that we are nothing like our government, and this government not only does not represent us, but on a day-to-day basis does not meet the needs of the people. A lot of viral posts that are going around are from pre-1979 period of time, where you're seeing women in their miniskirts and women going to university. And it's not just about women. The reason why this movement, the current movement, is about women is because Mahsa Amini was the catalyst that began this movement. But we've had many movements in the past 43 years, and each time the catalyst may be different. It's an egg protest, it's an economy protest, it's a protest of the teachers, of the retirees, of the bazaar workers. But the message on the streets always ends up the same, and that's death to the dictator and a call for regime change. But that message is very often either it's cracked down upon and silenced very quickly, the repressions start very quickly, or it is misconstrued or purposely twisted by the West and the lobbies that we have here in the United States and in Europe that kind of whitewash that message and say, well, the Iranian people want reforms, or it's about the economy, or it's about X, Y, and Z, and their message has always been bastardized. This is the first time that the Iranian people finally have a chance to have a very clear and unadulterated message to the entire world and upon themselves. I mean, this is the first time we've seen such unity among the people.
And that's it, isn't it? It's the unity amongst all people on this very big issue that hits everyone. This is a human issue, right?
Correct.
It's a humanity issue.
Absolutely.
And if I can just add one thing, I don't know if there is time for this.
Of course.
That I don't really think that this discrimination is just starts and stops with hijab. Or
I was going to add that.
Or wearing their scarf in a wrong way, or showing a little bit of hair.
Absolutely. It was just a catalyst, a symbolic catalyst.
Exactly. Symbolically, this speaks of a much larger volume of discrimination that has been going on for years. If you really look at the women in Iran, majority of the women in Iran are educated women. And I have the statistics here, which we can talk about it later. But this starts with hijab, but then you have to look at child custody. For example, if you're a woman in Iran and you ask for divorce, you really cannot get a divorce.
That's true.
Unbelievable.
You have to get permission.
And if you have to get permission. And if you do get a divorce, if the children are under the age of 7, you may have custody of your children. After age 7, the father decides whether you can have custody or not. So you may not even have custody of your children after age 7. Every decent, normal human being understands one thing and one fact. You don't have to be a psychologist to understand this. A human being at that age requires the mother's love and attention. There is no other way around it. You cannot just take the kids and give it to the father. I don't care what kind of a law says you should. That law is wrong and it should change.
Absolutely.
That's number one. Not being able to leave the country without the permission of your husband.
Correct.
Like you're on some kind of an animal. You're on a leash. Or my daughter wanted to get a passport to go to Iran, and they said you have to have your father sign papers for you to get paperwork. And I refused to sign the papers. I definitely, and I know my daughters, if they're listening, they're going to hate me for this. But I refused. I said, I will not bow to this regime and sign those papers. You are adults, and you should be able to go enter that country and leave as you choose. At will, as you choose. There is no need for any man, just because they have a beard, they can make a decision for you.
Absolutely.
And the other thing that I wanted to say is that if you become, for example, an attorney like yourself, you can never become a judge.
Not as a female.
Let that sink in. If you are a woman and you're an attorney for even 25 years, the best attorney on earth, you cannot be a judge in Iran. What does that tell you about discrimination? It's not just about hair. It's a lot more than that.
So much.
Thank you. That was 100%. Very well said.
It's absolutely outrageous.
I think it's very important for us to note, with everything that you said, with the fact that you stated that Iranian women are so educated. This is simply a cultural phenomenon. This is the way we are raised. We are always raised to be all about education, all about growing ourselves. So specifically speaking, the women that we're talking about that are so upset and taking to the streets, this is the new generation. This is not even our generation. This is Gen Z. This is the young people who will no longer tolerate
They're
this.
making noise.
They
good
won't
for
take
them.
it anymore.
That's it.
They're linked to
tiring.
internet. They can see the outside world.
And when we get back, we're going to talk more about that and how the internet is affecting all of this and how it can help, because that's one of the call for justices that we need to make here is around the internet. That's what we're going to do when we get back. Stay tuned. You're listening to 790 KABC. This is Call for Justice. We are back with Call for Justice. This is criminal defense attorney Mahsa Lefkowitz. Now, we are discussing the fact that protests have broken out all over the world calling for justice around the death of Mahsa Amini, a 22-year-old woman who was arrested by Iran's morality police for wearing a hijab incorrectly. Not wearing the hijab, but not wearing it properly.
Correct.
Okay. According to the police, Amini died of sudden heart failure. However, her family, along with thousands of others and every single person, including me in this room, disagree, arguing that she was beaten to death while detained by the police. Now, people are calling for change all over the world through protest. Earlier this week, Sharen Ghatan, who's sitting right next to me, and I attended Amini's Los Angeles vigil and spoke with several men and women who called for justice for Mahsa and many others. Let's listen to some of what we learned on the streets of Los Angeles. What's the injustice around what we're doing here?
I'm here in solidarity with women in Iran, all of Iran, my brothers and sisters in Iran who are fighting for their freedom, for basic human rights. The injustice is, how many hours do you have to talk about this? Injustice is multifold.
We have a full hour. Keep talking.
The most important part is that she's extremely educated. She's one of the top eye surgeons.
Oh, wow.
So somebody like her could never, ever proceed.
I'll be happy.
So you couldn't be doing what you're doing.
So I often say, my name is Neda, and when in 2009, what happened to our Neda in Iran, I often say that if I was in Iran, I would have been another Neda, I would have been a Mahsa. All of us would have been. We would have been fighting for the same human rights that we get to enjoy and take for granted.
So what do you have to say about what you just heard?
So I want to give some context because the woman that was speaking is actually somebody that I know personally. Her name is Dr. Neda Shami. She's a local eye surgeon, and our kids actually went to school together from kindergarten all the way up. And her brother is a surgeon as well, and she has two daughters, by the way. Her husband's a surgeon. And when she was speaking and she said she could have been a Neda, she could have been a Mahsa, she really is correct. So people like myself, Melissa, we're attorneys. We could not be able to, I'm surprised you're saying we couldn't be judges. I just don't even imagine us being able to practice the way we practice. The judge part would be a crazy dream.
I can't imagine a world where that's limited. I can't imagine that.
In this day and age.
Amazing.
So it's really disturbing. I think that's what the doctor was speaking about, is that she said that none of us could have really existed in that world today. And frankly, I, for one, I'm very thankful that my parents, went through all they went through and made the sacrifices that they made in order for me to come here. Because the truth is, I'm such a loud, outspoken Persian woman. I think I would have been dead long ago in Iran. I feel for these young girls. Like, what's happening? How different could they possibly be from me? We're spicy people.
Absolutely. They're locked up in the houses, not being able to show their passion. They cannot listen to music in public. They cannot dance in the streets. They cannot voice what they want. As simple as having a pet, a dog, is forbidden in Iran in the parks.
Yes, we were told that headbanging is forbidden. Do you remember this? It was a jailable offense.
So we met a young man at the Melrose Mahsa Amini vigil. Very, very lovely, handsome young man. And he was wearing the flag, if you recall.
Absolutely.
And he said, I just recently came from Iran. Thank God I came. We said, well, what was the problem? He said they thought because I was a headbanger that I was some sort of an awful person and I should be jailed. And I said, you were jailed for headbanging? So if you listen to like AC/DC or something, you'd be in prison.
How does that make sense?
It's unbelievable. I can't fathom it.
When your emotional intelligence tells you otherwise, but a government or any police or any law in this case, Islamic morality or Islamic law tells you that your emotional intelligence means nothing. You are forbidden. You cannot be yourself. You cannot express yourself. You do not have a voice. You do not have choice. You have nothing. Until we tell you what you are nothing. And then when we tell you what you are supposed to abide by that. You cannot develop as a human being. You cannot fulfill any dreams. You cannot liberate and become happy.
Because of the deep and profound traumatic impact everything you just said has.
And that leads to stress, that leads to early aging, that leads to depression, that leads to a lot of other
I'm sure
problems.
all kinds of other mental illnesses.
Suicide.
So
What's
people,
the suicide risk over there?
So people should not be surprised to see this uprising. People have been fed up with all this crap. Their emotional intelligence
It's a long time coming.
See, in the new generation that has basically have been born into this context, they have nothing to live for. 28% of the women between age 18, I believe, to 35. This was a report that came from the dictatorship government itself 3 months ago. They have no jobs.
Wow.
They don't even have a job. 18 to 35, 28% of them have no jobs.
What
are they living
doctor?
for?
What do they do?
They cannot work. They cannot be free. They cannot express themselves. They cannot sing. They cannot listen to music. They can't do anything. They might as well either fight or die. That's all they have.
Unbelievable.
They have no other option.
How do you live in a country like this?
That's why they're fighting.
Lisa, how does this hit you?
Interesting question, because I've been doing this for a very long time. I've been covering just people all around the world, but specifically my focus is on the Middle East and Iran, of course, in particular, as I am of Iranian descent. It's interesting that this is 1.5 generations into the revolution. And the reason I started out the segment saying it's a long time coming is because from the first days of the revolution, the Iranian people wanted more freedoms than they had under the Shah, which now they understand was a big mistake because it's all relative, right? But they felt like it was a stolen revolution. And if you remember in the Arab Spring of 2010, we saw the Egyptians come out into Tahrir Square and they made a revolution. And 1 year into it, they said, we're not going to accept the Muslim Brotherhood. And that was a lesson learned from the Iranian Revolution, that you cannot accept, if you're going to revolt, it's got to be better than what you had. And that didn't happen for the Iranian people. So for 43 years, the dinner table conversations were political. They talked about how their parents, and now perhaps even their grandparents of those kids that are on the streets right now, spoke about the revolution, how they made a mistake, how it was much better under the Shah of Iran, the king of Iran. And that's why one of the slogans you hear on the street right now is, what a mistake we made making a revolution. And this is interesting because, perhaps that middle generation, which would be their parents' generation, were passive, especially the women, where they wanted to, they understood the mistake that was made. But now their daughters are the ones who are going to get the country back, and their sons. This is not just a feminist movement, and I think that's a misnomer that's all around, the world, because that's more of a visual. Yes, a lot of women are out on the streets. A lot of it has to do with the symbolism and the visualization of the hijab and taking the hijab off, of course, because of Mahsa Amini. But this is a movement purely with one message, and that is for freedom. And the secondary message is for regime change. And that is underscored 1,000,000 times by the young people on the streets. They don't want a face on this. They don't want a leadership face on this. Of course, the face of the iconic Mahsa Amini is the hashtag in the face of this for many reasons. But they just want to focus on the task at hand, and that is getting rid of this regime. And they will figure out the future on their own. But their main point is that we do have the audacity, and we do have the courage, and we do have the bravery to fight for what our parents couldn't fight for, what they couldn't get back, and we have to correct their wrongs. And there actually have been so many interviews I've done over the last like, I don't know, 17 years I've been doing this, where, the young people say to their parents, what the hell was wrong with you? Why did you do this?
That's very true.
And it's an interesting juxtaposition to see the generational, kind of what they inherited from their parents. Myself, I was born in New Jersey, right? So I did not have the connection on the ground with the Iranian people. But of course, my own identity was formed by the fact that, I was a young kid. I wasn't even, I don't think, maybe 7 or 8 years old when Khomeini died. And I remember sitting on the floor in our living room and watching the TV and turning to my mom and saying, does that mean we're going to move to Iran? So in my psyche, it was that this revolution happened, and therefore my name is Lisa, the most common name of the 80s, right? So my name is Lisa because we had to come to the United States because of a revolution, which is not exactly true in the case of my parents because they were study abroad students to New York. But because of this historic point in time, all of our families were affected. And there are so many stories that tie us back. And even though it's 43 years, we all inherited what was passed down. So we all have, like, for example, I've never been to Iran. I read and write Farsi. I speak Farsi. I'm now doing interviews in Farsi. But I have a faux nostalgia for an Iran that was under the time of the Shah, even though I was born after the revolution. So in that inheritance, it's, all of us got something from this 43 years. And that is how, this is being shaped. And that's why you're seeing these kids not back down. The bravery is incredible.
Tremendous bravery and courage.
Unheard of.
I want to touch on the point that Lisa made. Lisa, thank you for that. I believe she's correct where she says it's kind of like a faceless. There's no face associated with this. I did hear someone very well known in the community, Dr. Homa Mahmoudi. I met her recently at an event, and she called this the Velvet Revolution. And I really love that term. And it's velvet because it's all done by women. And it's not just women. Lisa mentioned that. She's entirely accurate. One of the people that stepped forward that's gotten such acclaim, and his song was played before thousands of people at Coldplay's concert.
Yes.
In Argentina is a young man by the name of Sharen. Sharen wrote a song called Barai, which means because of. And the first few lines are because of my sister, because of your sister, because of our sisters. So at least Sharen understands we all come from a woman. We all have siblings. We all have sisters. We have aunts.
That's right.
Grandmothers. We all have a connection. So I agree with Lisa on that point that it's not all. It is a human moment, not just a man or a woman moment. That's key.
Absolutely. This is a human issue. Now, if you're listening, keep listening. We have to take a quick commercial break, but when we get back, we will hear more about this humanity issue. All about freedom.
Freedom.
Stay tuned to Call for Justice. You're listening to KABC. Justice. This is criminal defense attorney Melissa Lefkowitz, and we are talking about the fact that protests have broken out all over the world, and this is the song that we were listening to.
Listening to this song brings tears to my eyes, just because it is definitely talking about how we feel about the poor people in Iran that have no choice, have no freedom. And I am so blessed to be in a free country. It is such an amazing blessing to have that we don't have to obey to what people want us to obey. And I look at my kids, the amount of places they want to go and anything they want to do, they are allowed to.
That's incredible. And you were telling me earlier today that you were playing that song for your children.
Yes.
You were explaining the words for your children so that they would understand the song. And Sharen, you interjected and you even called it, it's almost an anthem.
It's
correct?
An anthem. I believe it's the anthem of this movement, and it symbolizes everything. And I don't know if people know the history, but this is simply a collection of tweets from people.
Correct.
He's singing these words. These are
What?
a collection of tweets from everyone about all their angst and all their points of contention with what's happening in Iran. So for each person, their perspective is different. Well, there's one person that says that, they're putting they're killing dogs because a dog is naches, which means like dirty. You can't have it. Or the economy is poor, or the pollution. Another person is talking about a girl who wants to be a boy. Another person, I think the most graphic and beautifully poignant is that moment of being afraid to kiss your loved one in public. That is just so touching to me, Doctor. What are your thoughts?
I think this is so clear. The song is basically speaking of wanting to live. We don't want to be just alive. That's what these people are saying.
Very well
We do
said.
not want to just be alive. We want to live. We want to be free. We want to have a voice. We like to speak. We like to kiss. We like to listen to music. We like to dance. And we have seen that. People literally take off their hijab or scarf and dance in the middle of the street. This is not just to show them that we are trying to fight back. This is a symbol of this is the way we want to live. And when we talked about internet, I think it's very interesting to me. 40 some years ago, when this revolution happened, obviously we didn't have internet like we do now. People in Iran are connected to the rest of the world. They are seeing how the rest of the people are living. They're not just alive. That's what they want for themselves. They do not want to be just living and then drop dead, which is what's happening to them now. They're alive and then they drop dead. They want to live. They want to be free. They want to have a voice.
They have a right to live.
Have the right.
Absolutely.
They have the right to be free. They have the right to have a voice.
They
Seems so natural for us.
And for us, we take it for granted. But
Yes.
for the people that are over there, they look at us and they're like, oh my God, look at these people. They actually go to a concert and they can sit next to a man that they love or a woman that they love, and they can hold hands, kiss, and watch a music. Watch a
and
concert,
the musician
watch
can
a show.
Be Adele. It could be a woman.
It could be a
Whereas
woman.
in Iran, you can't have a
A
woman
female.
A female
No,
cannot
you cannot.
sing in
Can you
Iran.
imagine?
You cannot sing in Iran. They're thinking to themselves, if these people all over the world can do this and I cannot, something is wrong with the system that is telling me what to do. There is nothing wrong with me. There is something wrong with the system that is trying to control me and oppress me.
Absolutely.
Tell me that I cannot be free. And they know within themselves, within their own inner being, they know this is the truth. The truth is about being free. It's about liberty, which they don't have.
And how we can help them, what we need to do from around the world. We can't just sit and watch and let them do what they're doing. It's just like years ago.
Absolutely. We need to demand that tech companies protect and provide internet freedom in Iran. That's number one. We have all this freedom here. We get to have free speech, free expression. They need the same thing. We need to call the UN. We need to ask them to halt Iran's human rights abuses. We need to tell Congress to stand in solidarity with Iranian protesters.
Absolutely.
We need to call our members of Congress and we need to demand action. We need to demand change. We need to call for justice, ladies and gentlemen.
And I will also add, please, if you can, join the protesters on the streets.
Yes.
It makes a difference.
Whether you're in Iran or out of Iran, join the protesters, because people in Iran eventually will get to see what everybody else is doing and they get energized.
This vigil that we went to was so incredible. It was packed to capacity with the most incredible, peaceful, loving individuals who were just simply seeking freedom.
And the truth is, the people in Iran, they're also not fighting. They're only asking, I want to be free.
And even that is a crime to
That
the
is a
moral
crime.
police, to the morality police. By the way, I hear morality police and I think it's a joke. I'm like, what? Where's the fashion police and the morality police?
It
Who's
is a
coming
joke.
after me?
Where's
There is
Joan
no
Rivers
morality.
to come back from the grave and get these guys?
It's like outrageous.
If you study, and I hope people don't think that I'm trying to bash Islam, not in any way, even though I technically think that a human being doesn't really need to have a religion to be a good human being. But if you look at Sharia law basically means shut up I will dictate, you follow. And what we dictate is the law of God. That's what they're trying to say. And the people in Iran have connected through the internet for the past several years to the rest of the world, and they know that is not the law.
Wow.
That's absolutely a dictatorship, and we are being oppressed. We are being depressed. We are taking our kids away, our rights away. If decent human beings don't do anything like that. But you're doing it to us.
I want to touch on this point of morality police. So you guys have heard about all these folks that they're putting into custody. I think it's very important for people to know that a lot of the young women are being raped in the prison because apparently, according to their rules, yes,
right,
they're saying it is a crime or it is immoral for a virgin to die. So they are raping these women.
That is true.
Non-stop.
Okay,
absolutely.
non-stop, like it's just a free-for-all.
So they take them
in their vast moral judgment.
Exactly. Because they say that it's, it's a sin for them to die as virgins, so let's rape them. I mean, come on.
Oh my
This is
God.
outrageous. When the parents of these young girls are permitted to visit, when they're permitted, instead of asking for, I want this mom or I want that dad, they ask for abortion pills. Do you understand?
Oh my God.
This is crazy.
Oh my God.
This is crazy. Who can come and help these people? This is insanity. They have no weapons.
We
by the
all
way.
need to help by
have no
calling
weapons.
for justice. That's what we need to be doing. We need to be writing, screaming, doing. We need to be on every single social media platform screaming for justice.
And you know,
Posting is important.
And I also wanted to add, this is not just for the women in Iran. As you know, I work for Children's Services here in Los Angeles for 26 years now. When people from Afghanistan were brought here because they were helping the government, U.S. government, a lot of them were brought here. A lot of the kids, especially young girls that came here, I remember 2 of them that I met actually at the police station. Within a week that they came here, they said, we want to be taken away from our parents.
Wow.
And we did take 2 of them away and place them into protective custody. Because this is also what they're experiencing there too. So it's not just Iran.
Wow.
Some of the countries down there, that's what they do. The 16-year-old girl that I met here, and she cried at the police station. I remember I was at Canaga police station. She begged me, I want to be taken into custody. I don't want to be going home.
Oh my God.
And I
Why?
had no.
What did she do? Why?
I took
What
her
was the
into
reason?
because her father was telling her how to live and what to do and what not to do, and it was extremely
Custody
immoral.
would have been more free.
And he actually made her, and she's 14 years old. He made her get engaged with somebody in Afghanistan, and he was going to bring that man here so they can be getting married.
At 14.
And she's 14 years old. And but I explained to the father that you're not supposed to do that. You can't do that here. He said, you cannot dictate how I lead my family. I decide who she will marry, and I will decide when she's going to marry. And I told him, well, I will decide at the moment that I'm going to take your daughter away. We'll see you in court. Have a great day. And I left.
Wow.
With his daughter.
Bravo, brother.
Had no
Bravo.
choice. We had no
Saved
choice.
a life.
Because I was trying to explain to him, you cannot bring the map of Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iran, whatever, and live in the United States.
Absolutely.
You need to abide
This is
by
a
the
free
rules, and
country.
you need to use these maps right here, and I'll show you what the maps are. One of those maps is you cannot dictate anymore to people what to do and when to get married. Sorry, that doesn't work.
And 14 doesn't work.
At 14.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Whoa.
So, in the criminal defense world, that's rape.
That's statutory
That's
rape.
it.
That's like,
Plain and simple.
oh
State
yeah.
prison.
We're
you're
talking
done.
state. Absolutely.
Lifetime
Lisa,
And it
registration.
happens every day in Iran.
It happens every day
Wow.
in Iran.
Yes.
Imagine in Iran, you can actually be a man and have 4 wives.
Yes, you can.
But as a woman, you can only have 1 husband.
What?
That's
Wait,
the law.
rewind.
That is the
before
law.
we- 'cause
Yes, that
this
is very
where
big.
I want to go out to commercial
That-
break. How many wives?
That is the law. You can have 4
Who would
wives.
want 4 wives?
And believe me, I'm
Oh
not.
my God.
I can barely handle you.
Right. I was like, I'm a lot. Okay.
Honestly-
I'm a lot to handle. I feel like
I can't
one
even
is
handle
enough.
1. I don't know how they
Right.
handle 4.
Exactly.
I think I know how they handle 4 by doing what they're doing to them.
Yes, they
Right.
can.
beating them.
Into submission.
Exactly.
Beating them into submission.
They have no voice, no choice. I will tell you what to do, you do it. So then I can have
no
voice,
choice.
no
That's the
choice.
tagline, right?
And
No
with
freedom.
that, no
Love
voice, no choice. With that, we are going to our final commercial break. But when we get back, we will hear more from this incredible panel. You're listening to Call for Justice right here on 790 KABC. This is criminal defense attorney Melissa Lefkowitz, and you're listening to Call for Justice. Now, protests have broken out all over the world calling for justice around the death of Mahsa Amini, a 22-year-old girl who was arrested by Iran's morality police for wearing a hijab incorrectly. Now, the protests occurring today are just planting a seed for change for tomorrow. So what does this powerful movement mean, everyone?
Hopefully it means change. Absolutely.
Change.
But a long-term change. This is no longer a protest. This is a full-fledged revolution. Melissa, to speak to what you were saying, Germany, England, Canada, San Francisco, LA. Guys, what other cities have we seen these protests going on in?
And so many of these concerts that are happening, and they bring up these names, and they're bringing up the freedom for Iran. And, you know, you always have to, at the end of the day, have a conclusion. What did I accomplish? What are we doing this for? What is the reason that all these people are coming out, wearing the flag, wearing the shirts, being able to express how they feel and what their goal is to be able to get to their true freedom and be able to do something about it.
I can't believe the number of people that have joined the movement in the past 4 weeks.
Absolutely.
Honestly, I see celebrities from all over the world.
Yes.
I see people holding up signs with name Mahsa Amini. I see that celebrities that don't even speak Farsi and don't even understand it, they post poems from Rumi, from Hafiz, from all those people all over the internet.
Absolutely.
And I want to say I'm so grateful. I wish I could speak to each and every one of them and tell them how thankful I am. I also want to make sure that I say thank you, Melissa, for inviting us here, because you made this happen. And I personally, as a man, as a human being, as a father of 2 girls, as an Iranian man, I'm so grateful to you for doing this.
I'm so grateful for each and every one of you for being here. You guys are all so absolutely incredible. How can we reach you, Dr. Cade?
God help me. I think people can obviously email me. I'm going to give you my phone number too, but please don't call me in the middle of the night. If you're calling from another country, don't call at 3 a.m. and wake me up. 310-709-1102. It's my number, and you can email me at dr.cade@yahoo.com. So it's dr.kade@yahoo.com. If you want to send me an email, please do so. I would love to hear from you.
Unbelievable. Thank you so much. And Lisa Daftari, how can we reach you?
All over social media, the Foreign Desk or Lisa Daftari. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you are. I'm there too.
She's pretty famous. Everybody knows her.
Yes.
I'm following her myself every day.
Lisa's amazing, and we're so excited to have every single one of you here. Sharen, how can we reach you?
So, guys, I'm all over as well. I'm not quite as famous as Lisa, but yes, you can reach me. I have a toll-free number.
Honey, you're not so hard to find. You know what I'm saying?
I have a toll-free number, 888-704-9777. My law firm is California Legal Counsel, and you can reach me at help@California Legal Counsel, COUNSEL.com. We are here to assist. I'm very happy to state that I am all female, and it is an all-female owned law firm, obviously headed by myself.
Wow.
I love to mentor young girls, so if there are any young girls out there, I always get interns that I always assist. So
I'd like you to mentor me.
I'm
serious. I'm dead serious. I've seen her in action. I've seen her in court, and
you
she's no
wouldn't be able
joke.
to do that in Iran.
I actually met Sharen in court. She gets up, right? And she's like a breath of fresh air. We're standing in criminal court, everything feels very gray, right? All of a sudden she walks in and she's like this burst of color and energy. And she's like, Your Honor. And I'm like, oh my God, this is my soul sister.
Absolutely.
She just walked into criminal court. Evelyn, how can we reach you at the Fun Zone?
Yes. Well, I'll give you my personal email. That'll be evelynlahiji@gmail.com. But, my ultimate goal is to hopefully one day we could sit here and talk about the freedom of Iran, how they have finally got what they want, their choice.
Let's speak it into existence and make it happen.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Because it's
near future.
And remember, guys, it's in our hands. And I'm not cutting you off because I want to know how to reach you, but it's in our hands. We're listening to this call for justice. We're making a call for justice. This call is now in your hands. You have so much to do. I gave us a homework assignment, okay? We're demanding that tech companies protect and provide internet freedom, okay? Huge. That's massive. We get that internet freedom here. We take it for granted. I'm going to say it, okay? We need to call on the UN. We need to call on our members of Congress. We need to call anybody who will listen, and we need to say, we are calling for justice.
If you have any podium, get on it.
That's right.
Don't sit back and just watch stuff on Instagram
Melissa,
or on
if I can
TV.
add one.
Yes, please,
Sorry,
Lisa, add. Please, of course.
Yeah, one small thing to add. It's not enough for members of Congress or the president or the vice president, where is she, we don't know, to give verbal support for this movement. When we call on them to support this movement, first and foremost, it means to walk away from policies that will hurt this movement, like the JCPOA, the Iran nuclear deal, like sanctions that need to be applied. So there's a lot of doublespeak coming from lawmakers these days, because they will give you that lame tweet to support this movement, and I call it lame not because it's not important and not because we don't want it, but it's because their actions should also match that. You can't, on the one hand, be quote unquote supporting this movement verbally, but on the other hand, pining to get back to that nuclear negotiation table in Vienna and trying to cut a deal with the mullahs that'll give them billions of dollars to hire more quote unquote morality police, more Basiji fighters, more guns and weapons to abuse the kids on the streets of Iran. So make sure that you're asking for the right thing and asking for them to have policies that will support the people of Iran and not the government.
Yes.
Agreed. 100.
Yes,
Absolutely.
Some good news, friends. I actually just recently heard yesterday that 4 planes have left with Basijis on them.
Yes,
So
I
they
heard
are
that
on
too.
the
They're running
run,
away.
boy.
Yes, they are.
on the run.
They got their
Okay,
tickets,
okay.
they got their planes, they're leaving. So this is a beginning of a good news.
Yes.
Beginning.
Let's hope it continues.
So, Evelyn, how do we reach you?
So I said it. It's going to be evelynlahiji@gmail.com. One of the things I wanted to...
Well, you have to spell that. You've got to spell it.
evelynlahiji@gmail.com.
I ask her everything. So, the email is constantly being used. I'm like, Evelyn, what's happening with this? What's happening? She knows everything.
It's
okay?
my pleasure.
If you
It's
have
my
a question
pleasure.
about anything,
I want
call
to go
Evelyn.
back, and I wanted to mention the beautiful song that I put on earlier, Baraye, that Sharen Hajipur had written and had sing, got jailed right after the song that came out.
did.
Whoa, what?
Yes.
He got jailed
arrested.
for the song that he extrapolated from Twitter posts.
I understand that he's under house arrest at the moment.
Yes,
Absolutely,
he is.
and
I
he's-
hear the same.
But wait, back it up. It wasn't even his words. He was using words from Twitter posts that he put together, strung together to make this beautiful song, and now he's in jail.
Yes, and
Now,
And now
he's
under
in
house arrest.
Unbelievable.
And do you think he even knows that this song is going to be potentially up for some sort of is it an Emmy or an
I'm
Oscar?
actually surprised he's still alive. So
I
I know,
too.
me
Good
too.
thing.
I am
That's
too.
what I thought. I mean, I hope he stays around to see
because-
what an impact this song has
Because-
made.
Absolutely.
It's
I
been
hope
our
he wins.
anthem. We sing it. We live by it. My kids can sing it with me. This is how
I
important
wouldn't
this
be
song is. to
surprised
us.
if they kill him soon and say he had a fall or something.
Oh,
Yeah.
I hope
my
not.
God.
But
They
those
do
are the
that.
things that they
You heard about
do.
the athlete, the young girl who took her
Yes.
head covering
Lisa,
off.
I heard you on the news talking about this athlete, this Olympian.
Yes, Elna Zakabi, she's amazing. She basically trained her whole entire life. She goes to South Korea to compete, takes off her hijab. And while she's there on South Korean soil, they make sure that they take away her passport, they get her to the embassy, and they get her home. She does a forced confession where she says that she, by accident, tied her hijab too loosely and it fell off, and that she's fine. She lands. They give her a hero's welcome at the airport. Literally, hundreds of people show up and are saying, Elnaz is our hero. There, you can see the chanting. We put up a whole series of stories and videos on our website covering this. And she was then put on house arrest since. Her brother has been arrested as well.
Yeah.
And they've taken away her cell phone. But again, somebody who's really trained her entire life is now perhaps won't be able to, or, faces very, very serious consequences for making such a bold move.
And again, to compare, Melissa, to what we do in daily life, I mean, house arrest is ridiculous, even for our DUI clients. Let's say it's a multi DUI offender. Let's say it's your fourth, fifth time.
Or there's injury. That's gross bodily injury.
Super crazy GBI. We'll do a little house arrest, 60 days, maybe 90 days. That's it.
What are we talking about here?
What
is this, an indefinite?
Wait, yeah, it is indefinite. Look at Shervin.
There's no end.
There's no
unbelievable.
ETA for release.
If what you're listening to, listeners, has outraged you as much as it outrages us, please call for justice. Go visit our website, Call for Justice Radio. Write us. Write the incredible panelists that came on here tonight. I'm going to ask them to go around one more time. We have 1 more minute. They're going to tell you their names, their emails very quickly so that you know how to reach them. You always know how to reach me. I'm at defenselawyer@yahoo.com. Sharon
Ghatan. My email is help@CaliforniaLegalCounsel, COUNSEL.com. Toll-free number 888-704-9777.
Dr. Cade.
Hi, I'm Cade. You can reach me at dr.cade@yahoo.com, 310-709-1102.
And Evelyn Lahiji.
Evelyn Lahiji, EVELYNLAHIJI @gmail.com, 818-231-1179.
And last but certainly not least, Lisa Daftari.
You can find me on social media, and if you want to email media@foreigndesknews.com, you can also sign up for our daily top 10 news email that comes up.
Call for Justice is brought to you by Melissa Lefkowitz, criminal defense attorney, and Dorit Reichenthal of Relationship Works Life Coaching. Fast-paced, fact-based.
We're not CNN. We do